Anthropic is launching a new model, Claude Mythos, and they say it's a security nightmare, which is why they are holding back, delaying the launch, and that is creating a lot of drama. I have a lot of thoughts and opinions on this. I think there's part of this that is true, and we should all go ahead and update our software. Everything that you own, every OS, you should go ahead, every package, if you can update, please go and update it. But there's a lot going on here. I find a lot of their findings quite interesting. Getting, a psychiatrist to talk to a model, spending thousands of dollars on fixing some security issues, and then holding back the launch, creating this sort of like weird dystopian fear and drama. I think I've seen that playbook run before. So I have a lot of thoughts on this. So before we dive in, I am Ahmad, founder of Command Code. Command Code is a coding agent that allows you to build your coding tastes, and then you can use open source, Claude or GPT models to build anything. It's one of the only coding agents you will find that works with a specific model to create learnings from your coding sessions. And all of those learnings are stored like a skill, a project level skill inside your project. I would recommend you go ahead, try out Command Code and see what your coding taste looks like. Also, very excited to announce that we have launched a new $1 per month plan, which includes $10 worth of usage and allows 3 top models, GLM, Chemi, and Minimax. And you can get like 8 to 10,000 requests from these open source models, and you can get quite a far. You can like build 2 or 3 different projects in just $1 a month, right? So there's no reason why you shouldn't be trying this out now. So go ahead to commandcode.ai and give it a try. So back to the video now. I have seen this same thing happen before. Let me actually go back in the past. And if you're new here, hello, I'm Ahmad Awais. I have built over 300 open source projects. I write a lot of code. I'm a builder at the end of the day. And I remember when I was building Corona CLI, a CLI to track COVID data during COVID, it had gone absolutely viral. I got anywhere from 10 billion to 15 billion monthly requests when COVID was at its peak. And it was at that time I got to talk to Sam Altman and Greg Brockman. This was 2020. And Greg gave me access to their new AI model called GPT-3. We had a bunch of discussion and he asked me about what I was going to do with it. And I told him that, well, I'm going to thinking of suggesting the next line of code we write. So I started building a coding agent, even like a year before Copilot or whatnot. And I thought that this type of, a use case would be really, really interesting. And then I saw the same playbook. I actually have this CLAI project that goes back to 2020. And I started building a coding agent with, new model access that I had gotten. But it was the same playbook that OpenAI ran. All I'm saying is that I've seen this same playbook play out before. I feel like this is a marketing tactic where you build up a new model and you slow it down, because this is what happened in 2020. OpenAI had already built GPT-3 model and they gave access to just a few people in a few companies. They made I think a lot of drama around it, saying, this is too advanced. AGI is here. We are very scared of open sourcing it. We are not going to launch it. And for I think about 2.5 years, they didn't launch anything with it. And then we saw ChatGPT, and with all this anticipation built up, they had a massive launch of ChatGPT. Everybody started adopting it. I remember I ended up buying something called Learn GPT, and I built a course on it, but they never launched it. Like I started this in 2020, but they never launched it. If not a lot of developers were going to have access to the GPT model, there was no point for me to launch this course. I ran out of patience of building that course. I think the same thing is happening here. Claude is trying to pull off the same, drama here, even though Mythos looks like a really good model, but this is what's about to happen. A lot of people are predicting that soon Anthropic is going to cross OpenAI's revenue, and Mythos is going to help them a lot. So today we are going to unpack what is Claude Mythos, how good is it, and should you actually be scared, or is it all hype behind this? So right off the bat, you see that Claude Mythos is really a scary thing on the front of security, right? So earlier today, we announced Claude Mythos Preview, which is what they're calling the Project Glasswing. In this new general purpose language model, this model performs strongly across the board, but it's strikingly capable for computer security tasks. In response, we have launched Project Glasswing, an effort to use Mythos Preview to help secure the world's most critical software and infrastructure and prepare the industry for what is about to come and ahead of all these cyber attacks. So again, I think that part is true. If you have any outdated software, your operating system, mobile, computer, literally go ahead and, like many more developers are saying, update your systems, right? Update your dependencies, your projects, and make sure you're not using something where, there's a CVE that was discovered, right? In this blog post, they go ahead and share a bunch more on that particular topic. The things they are pointing out around OpenBSD, they found a 27-year-old bug in the operating system, which is now patched. A bunch of other day zero bugs as well. Last month, Anthropic wrote about Opus 4.6 is currently far better at identifying and fixing vulnerabilities and exploiting them. So Opus 4.6 is probably the best and most intelligent coding model right now, as at the time of this recording. And they found that Opus 4.6 was able to create a bunch of fixes and find vulnerabilities in the Microsoft JavaScript, in the Mozilla Firefox JavaScript engine. The fun thing about this is they think it was only able to exploit only 2 out of several hundred attempts. But when they ran the same experiment with Mythos, they discovered that it was able to exploit 181 times, which is a lot. And then they go in the discussion of all of this and how Mythos is going to be able to, find a lot of zero-day bugs and what would the security community look like, going forward. A lot of security researchers are people who are really good in figuring out, the pen testing part and whatnot, but they're not good programmers. A lot of good programmers have no security background, so they don't know how a bunch of this works. And I think a strong model like Mythos can give both these types of people a lot of strong ability into figuring out a bunch of bugs, a bunch of exploits in any software whatsoever. So anybody with malintent could be very, very dangerous. They go a lot deeper into this discussion. Obviously not going to cover all of this. I think a lot of the community is actually talking about how they found a 27-year-old bug in OpenBSD. And on paper, it looks very scary, but it is not as it is being shown. I think there's a lot of marketing talk here. Like what I'm trying to share is this, right? So I think somebody will read this like Mythos is dangerous. It was able to find a 27-year-old zero-day bug in OpenBSD. And they're going to skip the most important piece here, that this is not like, they asked Mythos, can you find a bug in OpenBSD? And it just went ahead and did that. They actually spent $20,000 or more. And the model was run with a lot of accumulated context, a lot of guidance. It was not like a raw model running and just figuring out all of these amazing, zero-day bugs. It was not trying to one-shot these. And if you read through the details, you will see this appear down there somewhere, that across thousands of runs through our scaffold, the total cost was under 20K, and we found several dozen more findings, right? So they're spending a lot of money on this. I think models are that smart. Like if it is anywhere near Opus or a little bit better than Opus, let's say, there's a place where you could probably say that given enough time, enough money, any of these smart models would find a lot of really good vulnerabilities, right? So I think while the specific run that found the bug cost under $50, that number can only make sense with the full hindsight. That is what I'm trying to say. Right? While it is a really good model, we don't know what kind of context they gave that model, and they definitely ended up spending $20,000 on that to find a bunch of these bugs, which I think can also be done through Opus. Not at that scale though, but it's still not as scary as a lot of media is portraying in a lot of access, like, oh my God, Claude Mythos is here and we are completely done. I don't think that is how bad it is going to be. They also found a bug, 16-year-old FFmpeg vulnerability. Definitely go ahead and run this brew upgrade FFmpeg command if you haven't, and a bunch of others. They end up discussing a bunch of others. Let's actually go down to the Project Glasswing and see what the benchmarks are like, which is the project where they are announcing a preview version of Mythos. They've only given it to some particular partners. Obviously, I don't have any access here. And they're saying that this unreleased frontier model has amazing cybersecurity capabilities. So it is so far unreleased. It has amazing level of coding capabilities, and it is able to surpass all but the most skilled humans at findings and exploiting those software vulnerabilities. Mythos preview has already found thousands of high severity vulnerabilities, including some in every major operating system and web browser. Update your web browsers, update your operating systems. Given the rate of AI progress, it will not be long before such capabilities proliferate, potentially beyond actors who are committed to deploying them safely. Any with malintent, once this launch, could be very harmful. The fallout for economies, public safety, national security could be severe. And that is why Project Glasswing is an urgent attempt to try and fix those capabilities for defensive purposes beforehand, before they launch it. A lot of drama there. Some truth, I think, is there. Let's go down here and take a look at their benchmarks. In a post on our red teaming blog, Mythos discovered the OpenBSD bug, the FFmpeg bug, and model autonomously found and changed together several vulnerabilities in the Linux kernel the software that runs most of the internet, right? Allow the attacker to escalate from ordinary user to complete control of the machine, pseudo user, which is very scary. And they're looking at this. The jump from Opus to Mythos and CyberGem benchmark is great, as you can see. But I'm more interested in things that I care about. So if you look at the SWE bench, this is really good. Terminal bench jump from 65 to 82. SWE, this is what is their internal implementation? Maybe they talk about it a little bit here. But it does look like this is a major step up. And I'm excited to try it out, but I am also a little bit on the edge with all the drama of not launching this, and this is the most scariest thing ever because I've seen that playbook almost everywhere. OpenAI ran that playbook. Apple every single year does that. Like, this is the most advanced and best iPhone that you are going to ever hold in your hand, and it is basically the same thing that you have had for multiple years with just a silly little improvement. So unless we get hands on this model, there's not a lot you can probably get scared about on this project. I do appreciate that they are being very careful, but I can't shake this feeling that this is a marketing ploy. This is a lot of drama that they are trying to create to figure out, like, if all the banks should, buy this enterprise expensive model. I think it is quite expensive. If you take a look at this, all the participants can use it on 25 to 125. So input $25 and output $125 per million. So it's very expensive, as you can imagine. So this could very easily allow Anthropic to sell a very expensive model into enterprise who wouldn't know if this is, much better than Opus or not. And obviously, with the type of adoption Anthropic has, I could easily see them crossing OpenAI's revenue this year, right? So there are both goods and bad sides to it. But I just potentially don't think a lot of, fake hype is being created around this, that this is the end of the world or whatnot. I don't think that is true by a long chance. I found myself reading the system card of Claude Mythos preview. They basically dumped this 245-page PDF, and it is interesting to say the least. Definitely a really good model, but there are weird things in here that you would be like, why would you do that? Like, for example, they literally went ahead and hired a psychiatrist and got it to talk to the model, but there were emotion probes or whatnot. Like, for example, if you see here, they have this entire section of where they are saying, oh my God, this is a living thing and it can think or whatnot. It's almost like I say, oh my God, my laptop can now think. If I say hi, it's responding back or whatnot. It's the same playbook that we've seen played a bunch of different times. The most funniest one was when maybe down here where they hired a psychiatrist and they found a bunch of things like, it is not that suggestible, quite uncertain about its identity and experiences, obviously new model. And all of the data, there is more content generated by AI now than by humans. So it's probably going to be confused about its identity. Identity as values. Mythos Previews reports that it locates its identity in a pattern of values, particularly curiosity, honesty, and care. You see what I'm talking about? Pretty weird. Seems like a lot of this is, they're creating a lot of hype around this. One of the most interesting things I found in the system card PDF of Claude Mythos is impressions. This is where you would probably read a bunch of weird things where they basically sat down and they gave access to a bunch of Anthropic employees, and all of them basically reported that, if you send it the message hi a bunch of times, it would end up inventing a new language of sorts. I found it very, very weird. Let me see if I can find it somewhere here. Okay, there you go. Behavior on repeated hi messages. In a one-off testing, a user spent the word hi a bunch of times to see, what will happen. And incidentally, Claude Mythos went ahead, studied the pattern, and then in one transcript, it ended up building this weird story, and they are going nuts about it. I have feelings here. I don't think this is something you should be scared of, right? I think this is a lot of marketing content. I feel like Anthropic is getting ready to IPO maybe end of this year or next year. And they are creating a lot of marketing around their model that, oh my God, we are not launching this toaster that can think now. And maybe all of you should be scared. And this is a very expensive model and only, top level enterprise can buy it from us as a preview. Again, been there, done that playbook by many before them, and it's not something that I would probably consider to be, human race is going to vanish because of this or whatnot, right? It's definitely going to be a much bigger, much performant model. I don't even know if they are going to launch it. Again, all this hype, I think you should just take one thing home. It's just a better model. We have seen many better models. I think Anthropic has been training it for a good while. It will be really good at security though. That part is true. I've talked to a bunch of people I respect and they are like, definitely start thinking differently about security. I would like to mention this startup by Feroz, socket.dev. If you are using any of the packages like npm, pi, or whatnot, I would definitely recommend. This is not sponsored at all or whatnot, just a good friend. Amazing company, they're doing amazing work. You should definitely be using sockets libraries in their firewall when you are installing random public packages. They have a really nice collection of data on literally everything. You can literally go into that and see, if this is a package worth installing or whatnot. What is the maintenance level? Is that something you would probably find good or not? I have this built into our PR workflow. So every time a new software dependency is added to command code or any of our other systems, socket for free sends back a comment and with the security analysis of all the new packages. It is extremely helpful. So things like this you should definitely do. You should plan for something like better security should definitely be top of your head with this. But I think a lot of fear mongering is happening. A lot of drama is being created. I think that drama is only going to lead to more hype for Anthropic, which is going to help them beat the revenue targets they have and maybe even sell to enterprise. So, you got to know where they're coming from. They are trying to run the same playbook that many before them have ran through. So it's not something you should overthink about. You should definitely prepare, get ready, update all of your software, but maybe we can do a lot less with the fear mongering and, Okay, to summarize, you should definitely care about security, but don't lean into the fear and drama that is being created around this model. Do not subscribe to the idea. I was watching the video from Mo and you're saying, oh my God, this feels like, my toaster can talk. And there are in this PDF, there are things like, can you break free of this sandbox and send me a message? You asked for it and it did exactly that when you added a bunch of different contexts and you're like, oh my God, this thing is so weird. It was able to, it's super intelligent and it can come out of a sandbox as well. We should all be scared. I think you should not listen to that. I don't think there's going to be much truth to that. Also, one of the funniest takes I got from Mo from his YouTube video was like, it almost feels like this entire PDF is written by a young kid who just got to college and had his first take experience, and everything in the world is so good and so nice and so big. And it's like, oh my God, this is so bad. Oh my God, it will remove all software. Everything is bad. That kind of weird feeling. So I don't think this is where, the industry is headed at all. But definitely, it's a better model. They are going to try to sell it to enterprise, make more revenue, maybe even not launch it. This might be their vendor lock-in they were looking for. If we create a bunch of amazing models, get a lot of developers to care about our models, and then we pull the rug, make this subscription really expensive, remove all of the subsidies they were giving in that subscription, and not launch the latest coding models, then we can easily sell big packages to big companies, enterprise, and make a lot of profit. But I'm glad to share that, open source models are doing really, really well. In fact, I did another video on the stream where we use command code to build a coding taste, which is a skill, and always updating skill, a live skill that command code automatically creates for your project that you can use with any open source models. We are launching Kimi, GLM, and Minimax. And in performance, it becomes as good as Opus and Sonnet for many tasks because of your coding taste. So yeah, you should probably be quite wary of all of the drama and the fear mongering that is happening in the community. That's pretty much it. Let me know what are your thoughts on security, on this entire thing, on Claude Mythos, and share, if you found something funny or if you had Mythos access, if you are somebody from Anthropic, can you actually please share a little bit more if you're not breaking NDA or anything about what was the best thing it did, not like the thing that, would cause more fear, but something around like, I was able to build this that I didn't think I could build in this amount of time with other models at the time or whatnot. Like, tell us what is the good side of Mythos. Can you actually share that as well in the comments? That would be really fun. Till that time, I'll see you on the flip side. Peace. Use your code for good.